Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into today's video. I want to jump into something a little different here on the channel. I want to jump into my 5 biggest Falcons offseason winners. Who are those players that benefited from what the Atlanta Falcons did so far this offseason? I think they got some pretty interesting names on the list that I made. We'll start with the obvious one. To me, Matt Ryan, yes, he's a winner. Now, you can sit back and say, oh, Thomas, they got rid of his favorite weapon. They traded Julio Jones. That's a loser thing. He must have had a bad offseason. Okay, put Julio Jones aside. He's not really been healthy the past couple of years. Not really been a weapon for Matt Ryan to use. Look at the numbers and look at the bright side here. The Falcons, in terms of Matt Ryan being an offseason winner, did not draft a quarterback in 2021. That's, number one, big win for Matt Ryan because they very well could have taken Justin Fields at number 4, taking in a Kellen Mond or a Kyle Trask in round 2 or 3. Could have taken somebody later on. They didn't. They didn't touch the quarterback spot at all. They signed A.J. McCarron, a clear backup, Felipe Franks. People are excited about that, but whatever. Not that big a deal. Overall, I think the Falcons did Matt Ryan a favor by not taking a quarterback to build and groom behind him. That's reason number 1, he's a winner. Also, they did add some weapons. We'll talk about those in a second. And so it's not like they just lost Julio Jones. They had a good time in terms of upgrading at the offensive side of the football. And Arthur Smith, believe what you want about him. I love the hire of Arthur Smith. He's going to be better than Dirk Cutter. Let's just say that. From a play-calling, offensive scheme perspective, he's going to be better than Dirk Cutter, and that's going to benefit Matt Ryan as well. So again, you say that Julio Jones left, so that's a problem. But look, they added Kyle Pitts, and we all know how great Kyle Pitts is expected to go ahead and be. Mike Davis, I wish they would have added more running backs than him and Cordero Patterson, but those are 2 additions that can help out on the offensive side of the football. And they also drafted offensive linemen. They brought in Drew Dahlman and Jalen Mayfield, and so they brought in some offensive line help as well. All these things are going to benefit Matt Ryan. I think he was a very clear winner this offseason, even though we know the Matt Ryan experience will end sooner rather than later because of the age and the fact that they will go for a new quarterback eventually, maybe even next draft. This offseason was a beneficial offseason for Matt Ryan. He should feel very good about where he stands currently with our Atlanta Falcons. Now, the question for him now is going to be, are you going to be a good quarterback this year? You've been good the past couple of seasons, 26 touchdowns last year. Will he be a top 10 quarterback in 2021? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y down below for yes, you think he will be. If you don't think so, type N down below for no. All right, our next winner here is, to me, another obvious one. And this one, again, went obvious first and then kind of got to more tricky ones. We'll go to that here in a second. But listen, here's the deal. Calvin Ridley, a big-time winner. Julio Jones leaving is only going to benefit Calvin Ridley even more. And yes, previously, there's this idea that, Julio takes away the double team, and so now Ridley gets one-on-ones. That was true in the past, but we saw last year, 7 games, there was no Julio Jones. Ridley was clearly the best offensive player the Falcons had. He took on a lot of double teams, and it didn't matter. And Calvin Ridley was an absolute superstar, and I think can become even better this year without any sort of distraction in terms of Julio Jones getting more targets than he did. He had 143 targets in 15 games last year. You think Matt Ryan likes Calvin Ridley? Yes, the answer is very obviously yes. 1,300 yards. This is going to be a top 10 fantasy draft pick in your guys' fantasy drafts. I would take him very, very early. He's going to have another monster year, and I think he benefited again from a couple of factors in the fact that Kyle Pitts comes on, not going to take away targets, but does clear up the middle of the field in terms of a tight end versus a wide receiver. No more Julio Jones distraction, and they didn't take another wide receiver until Frank Darby in the 6th round, so no real competition to take away snaps from Ridley. He's going to benefit a lot and has benefited a lot from so far what has been a very good and very fun offseason for the offensive side of the football if you're Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley. Drop a like if you guys agree. This is obvious, right? Like this video, I think Calvin Ridley's a star. If he's going to break out this year even greater than what he's done the past couple of years, give this video a thumbs up. I think he will. I think you guys would agree with that. All right, before we're going to keep going, quick shout out to our friends at Newsbreak. You guys download the Newsbreak app right now. Go to chatsports.com/FalconsNB. That link will be down below me in the description box. And that way, you download the app, and then you get to subscribe and pick whatever free content you want to follow, right? Local news, local weather, us, follow us at Chat Sports, politics, and more. All of it is much easier than using a newspaper, and it is the new way to do your news at the touch of a button. Again, it's called the Newsbreak app. Download it right now for your Apple iPhone or your Android device. chatsports.com/FalconsNB. All right, my next winner is going to be controversial because even though this player has not done much for Atlanta, I think this was a good offseason for him. Now, it's Qadree Ollison. You say, Thomas, you mean the former running back they drafted a couple of drafts ago who's done literally nothing his entire career? Yeah, that one. Listen, Atlanta did nothing in terms of upgrading the running back spot. Yes, they went out and got Mike Davis. He'll be the number 1, but they let go of some people, and clearly I think Ollison is going to have a chance to go ahead and be the number 2 running back on this depth chart. And I hope he does because he seems like a bust and a waste of a draft pick. But as you currently stand, 2020 was an absolute nightmare. 1 carry for 3 yards and a touchdown. That should not happen for a guy who was a draft pick a couple of years ago and we thought would be the heir apparent to the short yardage back. And they didn't use him at all in that scenario. And there were reports coming out that he just wasn't good in training camp. It wasn't good in practice and hence didn't get a lot of playing time. But as it currently stands, this Falcons depth chart is very bleak at the running back spot. To me, it's the worst position group overall Atlanta has, minus maybe defensive end. It might be worse than defensive end. Yes, Mike Davis will be number one, but behind that, right? Like who do you trust? Like, Cordell Patterson's not going to get a lot of carries at running back. He's a kick return specialist. Like, maybe he gets a couple of end arounds. That's basically it. Ollison's going to have his chance, and if he can grab it by the horns and really take over, he can start out training camp and start out the preseason and then get into the regular season as the number one running back on this, number two running back on this depth chart, splitting carries behind Mike Davis. I hope that he does. He was a winner, though, because the Falcons did not address the running back spot at all this offseason. Okay, next player, again, is kind of controversial. I'll say Kendall Sheffield. And I say Kendall Sheffield, and a lot of people will say Thomas. There are articles posted last week saying Kendall Sheffield might be on the chopping block here. Like, the Falcons went ahead and drafted Darren Hall in the 4th round. Isaiah Oliver is still there, although he might move over to safety. Like, you might eat your own words here, and Kendall Sheffield could get cut. That's true. But as you currently sit here, looking at the cornerback spot, the only guaranteed guy is A.J. Terrell. Opposite of him, I think Kendall Sheffield's going to go ahead and win the job. Former 4th-round draft pick a couple of years ago. Again, I think that he has shown enough to me to win the job based on what you're looking at from a cornerback spot, and I think he can really flourish. I think the Falcons secondary is better than people are going to think. It's still very young. You get Richie Grant in there, obviously, in the backside. You get, obviously, A.J. Terrell in year 2, but I think Sheffield is poised to go ahead and win the starting job because, again, a 4th-round cornerback in Darren Hall, unless he's some sort of, diamond in the rough, which you never know, could happen, right? Then maybe he could go ahead and take over the spot, but other than that, not a lot of competition, especially if Isaiah Oliver is reportedly, as we've heard, moving to safety. And if Oliver is going to move to safety or at least play the nickel, then there's no real competition for Sheffield besides Darren Hall. So I think he's had a very, very good offseason and has a very real chance to go ahead and win a starting job because, again, they didn't really address the cornerback spot as we thought that they would. Like, we were thinking they could take a cornerback at 4. We were talking about Patrick Surtain at 4, and then they, of course, didn't. So, benefits Kendall Sheffield. Maybe it's for the better, maybe it's for the worse. We'll have to wait and see. All right, final player on my list. It's got to be Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler is a winner this offseason. As much as I hate to say it, as much as I cringe when I think about Dante Fowler, it's like, oh my gosh, Fowler is the number one pass rusher on this football team, technically, right? Like, I mean, he is, because Grady Jarrett's defensive tackle. Like, he's better, obviously, but Fowler is going to be the number one pass rusher. But as with some of the other position groups here, in cornerback and running back, Falcons didn't do much to go ahead and bolster the defensive end position. Like, they couldn't really because, the money didn't work out. But they didn't spend any early draft picks. And you get a guy like Taron Jackson was taken. I mean, there just is not a lot of competition for Dante Fowler. And so that's good news for him because he's going to get all the first-team snaps. He'll be a starter on the outside. And he gets a really good chance to go ahead and go back to the form he had in 2019 when he was a Ram and was absolutely fantastic. We forget the Falcons signed him coming off of a season where he had like 11 sacks. So there's a reason why they gave him so much money, which is not coming back to bite them because it's probably a make or break year in Atlanta. He could be cut at the end of the year. But he was coming to Atlanta for a reason. They saw him as the savior and the real answer, if you will, through the Vic Beasley mess that was in terms of Atlanta Falcons pass rushing perspective. So I think he's a winner because, again, not a lot of competition. If they'd spent a first-round draft pick or even a second-round draft pick on a pass rusher, you get real competition there. But right now, as it stands, Fowler is your number one pass rusher, and the fact that they didn't get anybody benefits him. And so the hope now is, if he's healthy, you return to 2019 form, and we all forget about how bad and abysmal 2020 was overall for Mr. Dante Fowler. But if you talk about all these winners, this is the guy. Fowler is really the guy who needs to step up the most. Like, yes, you need Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley and Kendall Sheffield and Qadree Ollison would be nice, but if I could pick one of these guys who hopefully has the best year, to me it's Fowler because the Falcons need pass rush help. If he plays well, this defense can be a lot better than the middle of the pack, bottom of the league expectations you see a lot right now happening in the National Football League, national media perspective. All right, let's end on this. Who was the biggest Falcon offseason winner of the year? Maybe somebody on my list, maybe not. Again, you go for Matt Ryan, Qadree Ollison, Calvin Ridley, throw in Kendall Sheffield, Dante Fowler. Which of these 5 is the biggest offseason winner? I want to hear from you guys on this one because I'm curious if my list is good. If it's not good, I want your thoughts down below right now in the comment section. All right, ultimate for today here on our Atlanta Falcons Today video. We'll do a mailbag video coming up tomorrow. So again, make sure you guys use the hashtag Falcons in the comment section down below to get your mailbag question up on the show, right? So subscribe, that's step number 1, and then go down below and type your little question out, and then I'm going to answer it in a mailbag video, again, most likely tomorrow is what we try and do at least once a week here on the channel. Get your guys' thoughts on the Falcons, and then I, of course, answer your guys' questions. That's how we do it. So make sure you guys go down below and subscribe. That way your question can be answered. All right. Ultimate for today here on Atlanta Falcons Today. Again, a little different of a video. I wanted to jump on, not just go news and rumors. We'll do that, obviously, in the coming days. But I wanted to come on here and give you guys my top 5 offseason winners who, I think the Falcons had a decent offseason. Not a terrible one. And there's a lot of guys who benefited it, most notably Matt Ryan, the fact they didn't draft a quarterback. We talked about that earlier on in the video. Again, Ultimate for today, Atlanta Falcons Today. I am your host and fearless leader, Thomas Mott. We go ahead and sign off. Enjoy the rest of your day.